This is Billy Jack Haynes, former WWF Pro Wrestling Superstar, and this is Monte and the Pharaoh, the #1 ever radio podcast in the world.
Stressful even before he had these health issues. I'm not outside of those 2 years. This is like the first time that anything that I do, I don't have him, there. Kev, you want to do this today? Kev, you want to do this Sunday? Kev, you want to do a special episode? Kev, you want to do this? You want to do predictions? You want to do a recap? This is definitely different. And you know what hurts the most? For the 2-3 years that Kevin and I did not talk, even though we were doing our own thing, there was always people trying to get us back together. I always credited Monte and the Pharaoh. Hundreds of people tried to get us back together. But I always remember them trying to convince us in any way for us to get back together doing the shows. And I had told Mike, I said, listen, if I do shows with someone, I got to like them. They got to be my friend. And I'm not going to just do a show just to, and that's how much Kevin and I cared, that if we were not copacetic with each other, stop doing our Patreon channel together. Despite us not talking to each other, he still did his shows. I still did my shows. I still sent him the questions. He still did what he did, because Kevin and I, even though we weren't talking, maybe one day, maybe you're right. And things started to calm down. And
so probably not the best editing by me, Jimmy, but, I do the best I can. So I didn't want to go long into it, but on Monday, actually Tuesday morning, Jimmy, when I had woke up to head off to work, on our social media pages, multiple social media pages, was Rip Kevin Castle. If anyone doesn't know who Kevin Castle is one half of the Don Tony Kevin Castle podcast, which in many cases, to anyone that follows pro wrestling podcasts, you could almost consider them the OG of podcasts. And Jimmy, before you and I even started, I caught Don Tony and Kevin Castle just, because I work long hours or whatever, even years ago before we even started, Jimmy. And so I would miss Raw, I'd fall asleep, right? So I'd be like, Don Tony and Kevin Castle were very good. They were very good recappers. It was like you really got your information. It felt like you were watching it. And I was very impressed by their style. So when me and Jimmy got into this, maybe once in a while, Jimmy and I would speak about them. And, Jimmy, we would discuss it or whatever. And, most recently, I don't know, a year ago, Jimmy, we had Don Tony on a pretty rare appearance. And Anyway, not to go too long-winded, but we find out that Monday night, Kevin Castle passed away at the age of 56 years old, way too young. And I thought, Jimmy, this would be a good opportunity for us just to talk about this because there's more into this than you could imagine. So I'll lead you off with this. They had a tribute show. It was Don Tony and this guy Mish and I think Kevin Castle's brother. And they're speaking about Kevin Castle. But it's not. Do you remember the Tony Atlas Rocky? So if anyone doesn't know, Jimmy and I were going to have the reunion of Tony Atlas and Rocky Johnson on the show.
Their first reunion in decades.
Thank you.
Since they worked together, because they really had such a fallout over the years. And there they were getting ready to come on the show for the first time in decades. And Rocky passes away. Go on, Mike.
Right. So obviously that's terrible that Rocky Johnson passes away. That's number one. But number two, here we are like, holy cow, so then we have this other tribute show. I'm pretty sure it's Pat Tanaka, Tony Atlas, Sunny Beach.
Yeah.
And it really isn't a tribute show. Tony Atlas starts talking about how Rocky Johnson would have Dwayne put him in a hotel room by himself or with someone to watch while he goes bangs his 80 girlfriends. And it's like, and it's all these stories. You can catch it on the channel. It's like, it's really not a tribute. It's,
Tony's telling all these things that Rocky did to him. He left me in a parking lot with like no money, food, or shoes. It's like, what? We did what?
Here I am. He knows I have to show up these appearances or be on the card and blah, blah, blah. So I'm listening to these three guys and it's really like not a tribute, Jimmy. They're talking about all the issues Kevin Castle had. And by the way, Kevin Castle is his work name.
Right.
And the first thing my wife said to me was...
It doesn't say Pharaoh on my birth certificate.
Right. But my wife says to me, you're the only idiot in this entire thing that uses his real name.
Yeah. Nick Nemeth.
Yeah, thank you.
What are you doing? What are you doing? You're killing kayfabe. What's wrong with you?
Idiots. I'm an idiot. What else can I say? I'm a moron.
But Mike, it's very jolting. Not to step on you. I'm sorry. It's very jolting because here's my experience with Don Tony, his show, and Kevin Castle. You know that usually I don't really tune into what everybody else is doing. You know how I am. I'm pretty much into when the camera goes on, we paint our picture. I consider this art in some strange way. Sorry, folks, I'm a little twisted. But, and then I go home. That's it. Once in a while, I will look at another show. And you always said really favorable things about Don Tony. So when we finally got to have him on, and yes, I did go and watch some of the stuff, and I can see why they did well. And when we had him on, that guy was awesome. I thought he was fantastic, and I think he's a very engaging person. And wow, how do I put this the right way? They almost remind me of you and me. Is there something wrong with me saying that? Because they're good friends. Obviously, they were really good friends. They were passionate for the same things and put on a great product for the public and did well, and they're friends. And then they have a falling out, but somehow they're still doing the channel, they're still doing the show or what. I'm not saying it's exactly like us. It's not. But it reminds me of us, and they are in our age bracket. So why do I see a parallel in some strange way?
We are alike, but we're different, right?
Yeah,
so
we are.
We do. Again, this isn't a comparison, but the Jimmy.
No, it made me think about that though. I don't know why.
Well, it made
this is a very tragic thing, and it jolted me. I thought to myself, my God, you've had your health issues, I've had mine. Mm-hmm. It's like, my God, what if one of us went? That's like, what do you do? I thought he put that beautifully the way he was talking about that in the clip you showed me there. So that's my observation on that.
Here's what I was thinking, Jimmy. Like, you remember when you were younger? It's even now, right? When you find out someone dies, the first thing it's like, what happened?
Yeah.
Right? Because if they had long-term illness, it's okay. Right. Well, they had long-term illness. I don't have long. What
was his troubles? I don't know anything about that.
As they're speaking, you start to find out that he had health issues.
Okay.
again, they kept talking. I guess he had chest pains, and he went to the hospital like 6 weeks ago, and they put him on medicine, and he had diabetes. But okay, but if you look at it this way,
my favorite word today, Mike. Go on.
I mean, yeah, dude. But you know what? Diabetes is controlled, but that's what they spoke about. They spoke about how he wasn't taking care of himself. But
as I drink this can of soda,
exactly. That's yeah. There you go. Great. I'll be without a partner in 6 weeks, right?
No. This is it. I've decided
this is the final one. Good.
Look, it's my 2 days off, and when I go back to work, I gotta shape up or ship out.
So here's the thing. Don Tony has always been on video, right? So you know what he looked like.
Right. Yeah.
Wasn't but for odd reason, Kevin Castle would never go on. In fact, we mentioned it on the show, how come he won't go on video? And Don Tony, kayfabes it. He's old school. He doesn't know how to use computer, whatever. And that might have been the case, actually, too.
Mm-hmm.
But you, as they're talking, I'm starting to search the internet, and then you start finding pictures of Kevin Castle, right? And again, older guy like us, overweight.
I'm not overweight.
You're not, but
go on.
I'm just saying in general. Okay,
I got you.
A little overweight. I don't even know if he's a lot overweight, dude. This picture I saw is a little overweight, right?
Okay.
Short in stature, 5'5". You know what I mean?
Okay.
Again, this isn't a knock on anything, but little do you find out that Kevin was afraid of people to know what he really looked like because of the persona that people thought he was. So if you ever see on that video, there's a graphic of Don Tony like this.
Yeah, I've seen
this guy Kevin Castle looks like this tough music band.
Favorable visual presentation. Gotcha.
Exactly. And he was afraid if people saw what he really looked like, they would make fun of him.
Okay.
And in his real life, from what I understand, he lived in a one-room apartment, and again, I could have something. But the point is,
at least you're living somewhere. Go on.
I guess he was almost like a shut-in, and his one get out.
He was a recluse, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people are reclusive, you know. Do you want me to elaborate on what you said?
Well, I'm going to say one other thing, and then it's all you. I want to hear your point. It's he was a recluse until he put on the Kevin Castle persona. And all of a sudden, he's now Kevin Castle, the guy who talks about wrestling and baseball and this other stuff. And I started thinking to myself, man, Monte, this whole thing is weird now because it's we all know wrestling is fake. And you and I have seen the darker sides of wrestlers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not the best sides of wrestlers. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, this is all character stuff. And then at what point, Jimmy, does the character take over the real human being? This is my last thing I'm going to say, and then it's all you. What happens when a person is happier being the character than being themselves? Is my point to you.
Well, anytime somebody decides to become an entertainer or a musician, something that you know, where you perform your craft in front of the public, you're going down the rabbit hole. Different people go down the rabbit hole in different ways, and some go much further down the rabbit hole than others. Being a recluse, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Falling into your own gimmick, we've seen it happen. We've been watching it happen with Ric Flair for how many years now? It happens. Oddly enough, Val Kilmer, who recently passed away, talked about after he got done playing Jim Morrison in the Doors, it took him almost a year and visits to psychiatrists even to get him out of the Jim Morrison mind frame that he so diligently worked at before in preparation for the film. So he was basically living mentally like Jim Morrison for probably well over a year for this role. And then he had a detox, Mike, maybe? He had to detox and try to become a normal person again. We saw what going down the rabbit hole did to Heath Ledger, didn't we? with the Joker. I mean,
Right.
if you're not aware of that story, folks, look it up. So I don't, it's weird to me when you take it too far. Look, the Pharaoh is something that, in some ways it is similar, but you described how, he was Kevin Castle when he was on the show. The Pharaoh appears when I'm on with you. You know what I mean? The end. And then it's back to real life, because real life has to be addressed. Like, I didn't get the best health news today. And trust me, if I don't do something about what I got to do, I'm a fucking idiot. So I'm probably going to logically, Mr. Spock, do what I got to do.
Right.
It's just, you don't want to like, so I don't know. Were they upset that he could have done something more to take care of himself?
That was part of their conversation.
And that's fair.
There was anger involved for sure, right?
Yeah, well, they clearly also loved him, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So they're frustrated, perhaps. I haven't seen the clip that you're asking me about, so I can't really say it until I, watch it myself. But, if they're frustrated, of course, look.
They were almost, you know what, Jimmy? It wasn't even like they were frustrated. It was almost like they were angry. Because at first when I'm listening, I'm like, wow. Like at first I'm like, man, I don't know if I agree with this. I don't think going on air and like laying out all this guy's dirty laundry to everybody that didn't know these little dirty secrets is the right thing to do. But then as I listened, I said, these are three guys, and one being his brother. They're angry.
Well, what's the
right? They're angry
anyway, though. I mean, what are they saying, that he was I haven't heard anything, to me to go, oh God, that's really awful.
You gotta remember something, Jimmy. Right? When people look as wrestling fans, right? We watch these wrestlers. We grew up idolizing these wrestlers. We'll just stick to our age, Jimmy. The Bob Backlunds, the Jimmy Snookers.
Sure. Roddy, Hulk.
The Roddy Pipers, the Hulk Hogans, the Brutus Beefcakes, the Savages.
Sure.
But the thing is, once you pull the curtain back, which all these shows have done with Dark Side of the Ring.
That sounds like Curly. Go on.
When you pull this back, it reveals all the warts, right?
Yeah.
And so the persona of Kevin Castle is a guy who has his shit together.
Right.
Speaks intelligently, very matter-of-factly, respected by wrestlers and the internet wrestling community for his thoughts, right? People buy his T-shirts, right? Because, right?
Sure.
But then you pull back the curtain and you reveal all of Kevin's warts. Yeah. And I think to myself, man, I'm not so sure I agree with that at all. But then again, as I listened, I said, man, these are three people that are just angry with their friend that he was too fucking lazy to address his health issues.
Yeah, and again, like, on a ward level sort of thing, I don't know why, but as you were telling me all this, I was thinking about when we were kids, the name Rock Hudson was revered, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're talking about an entertainer, correct? A level of fame that, like, only we can imagine to compute, and a man's man and a lady's man. And then what was the ultimate outcome? We know the ultimate outcome with Rock Hudson and what he passed away from and all that other stuff. And it's like, you talk about warts. And I think I said in between when you were saying stuff was, life is warts. These warts are just, they're very sad if that's the case. But it's not like, I don't feel like they were like exposing something absolutely, earth-shattering that, like,
But you understand what I'm saying there, right?
They're just expressing
back in the
frustration.
day, but back in the day, people protected, and I'm not putting Kevin Castle on this level.
We're
don't
living
get
in
me
a
wrong.
different time now. Everybody says everything about everything.
But my point is, at what point do you protect people? Like, if Mickey Mantle was in today's generation, Mickey Mantle would not be as revered as he is. John F. Kennedy, the same thing, right? Like certain things just look, people knew the warts, but we didn't expose the warts. So I'm looking at his brother and I'm looking at Don Tony, is his co-host, and one of Kevin Castle's friends, and they're revealing these warts. And again, I'm not saying they're wrong. All I was saying to myself is, there's thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people that watch these guys or listen to these guys weekly. Sure. And maybe in some cases, Kevin Castle was a hero. I don't know, Jimmy. I'm guessing. And it's like when you reveal all this, one, are you just showing everybody, hey, everybody's got problems, don't feel bad? Or are you like, boom, everything I thought about this, I'll be honest with you. I don't know how I fell into it, but when you see those graphics, right? Mm-hmm. I never saw the guy. I'm like, oh, this guy looks like a tough whatever. Okay. When you see the picture of him, you go, okay, now I understand why he didn't want to be on camera, right? Because he definitely would have been food for fodder.
Well, community. The height thing that you said, what was it, 5'5"? Did you say 5'5"?
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
I don't know if you know this, but like famous actors from the past, and sorry, those are the point of reference from when we were growing up. Michael Landon. You know who Michael Landon is, I'm assuming? Oh, yeah, Michael Landon was much shorter than the other guys on Bonanza, so they had to deal with camera angles, and he had to have like high inch boots to like make him taller and stuff. Richard Basehart, a great actor on Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, he was very short, and he actually would stand on a box, Mike, not the spirit box, but he would stand on a box, and they wouldn't show that, so he could stand next to Captain Crane, David Hedison, so he would look the same height. So, like, these guys definitely have hang-ups, about their height if they are shorter. But, again, I say, that's, something for them to deal with. I don't really look at it like a gossip point. He was short, whatever. Don Tony never struck me as somebody who's not anything but a straight shooter. So I did hear him say some very nice things about his partner, and he's obviously good friends with him, and they had a falling out. Shit happens. And you could hear the regret in his voice. He's a real person, man. That's the vibe I got from Don Tony. And look, they did great things together,
Well, I hope I'm not coming across as being disrespectful. That's not the point here.
No, I'm not. Why? Because I have this certain take on it doesn't mean that your opinion is off base.
No, my thing is, it's like there's so many different things that are involved here. It's like, here you are we're revealing stuff about the guy, and then there's the situation where the guy wasn't happy being that guy, but he was happy being the make-believe guy. Like, how does someone fall into that? Look, dude, let's be honest. I love the fact that we have
sometimes this is all somebody has. And you know something? Coming from my way of how I would have been looking at it, I would have been like, bro, at least the one thing you're really good at.
Right, sure.
You know what I'm trying to say? So I'm sorry, but that's my take on that quick thing there.
And you know what? That's a great comment, dude. And look, I understand how someone could fall into it. We've got beautiful people, our family of that come in every Thursday with us, show us that type of respect. And you know what? I'll be honest with you, when I'm walking the street, I mean, that's one of my bigger concerns, dude. Like when I started this job, my wife's like, when it happens, what are you going to do when someone goes, are you Monte from Monte and the Pharaoh?
You've already had that.
This is at my new job.
Oh, I understand.
You understand?
Yeah.
What's your response going to be?
Yes, right? I am. What?
Or
nope, that's not me. It's some other guy who looks like me.
I don't even know what you're talking about, right?
There's a lot of Mike Montes in this world. Look it up on the internet.
But I will say I do love the fact when, like, me and my wife may be walking around and someone says, hey, I love that show, or hey, you're Monte, or like I said at the big event, I don't know how many people came up to you when we were together, and then alone that last time, I was like, holy shit. Mm-hmm. So I can understand falling in love with the adulation. Again, them being the originals would be one of the originals that did this. So, again, really sad, even more sad that this guy had a capability of maybe trying to correct his health issues and did nothing about it. Really sad that when they used to want to go do public appearances. And I'll be honest with you, they like whenever Don Tony would be like, hey, we're going to go do this, I would laugh and say, they're not showing up. Like I knew it, but I didn't know why. I thought he was just trying to, grease somebody's mind. But the reality is Kevin wouldn't go.
Yeah, that must have been hard for Don Tony. That must
Absolutely.
have been hard for him. Yeah.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah, well, I could see how the engine ran over there. At least, look, I don't know all of the inner works, but I will say that you can see that Don Tony's the one that like really drove things. It was like, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Do you want to tape this? Do you want to tape that? You know what I mean? He was definitely, so that's got to be frustrating for him.
Well, I think the harder part for him is him and Kevin broke away. They got back together and to much success.
Of course.
And now it's like starting over again, and that's got to be tough.
It'll be
and
tough,
look,
but I think my money's on him doing it. I mean, come on.
I understand, but you know what, dude? Everybody's getting older, right? And things get tougher as you get older. It's not so easy to recover. And you know,
no, that is true.
I mean, look, dude, I'll be honest with you. If something happened to you, I wouldn't do the show anymore. What's the point? You know what I mean? I wouldn't. I just wouldn't.
And do me a favor, though. Don't talk about my warts, please, because like everybody's got them. Thanks.
I wouldn't talk about your warts.
And another thing about Jimmy, he was impossible on planes because he never liked the music they would play.
Hey, so I got a couple of things since we don't ever have time to recognize the wonderful people that join us every week. Jason Morning, we love you, man. Thank you for supporting the channel. Mitch Seinfeld checking in from Brooklyn and New York. Nick,
what is up, Mitch?
Mitch sent me a message where he sent Kamala's wife a congrats for getting into the WWE Hall of Fame. We'll talk about that shortly. RJ Hudson, rocking and rolling. Good man.
RJ, what's up?
Ryan Armstrong, from Orlando, Florida. Hello, Mr. Armstrong.
Armstrong in the house. Okay.
Thank you for joining us. Don't know if I don't know if you're a Don Tony fan or a Kevin Castle fan or a Monte and the Pharaoh fan. It's first time seeing you, but I hope you remain a Monte and the Pharaoh fan, and we thank you for joining us. We've got D.S. Gabal, long live the legend, K.O. Kevin Castle.
There you go.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Right? So DS, and I'm sorry, sir, from a Glabell. There's a guy who definitely was affected by Kevin and Don Tony's work. Mm-hmm. And DS, quick question, if you're on the chat, how did you feel about their recap that Monday night announcing the passing of the great Kevin Castle? And did you feel that revealing the warts was okay or not? I just like to know. And there's no wrong answer here. Phil Cesare, my man, the president, the king of New York. Well, the king of Massachusetts.
King of Boston.
Bluetooth Mania. I can't believe he's dead. It feels like yesterday I was listening to him and DT. Bluetooth, very sad for all of us that are in this. Those two are the OG. Thank God Don Tony's okay. Hopefully Don Tony carries on. Kevin will always be remembered. But Bluetooth, I'll ask you the same question. On that recap show, if you have a chance to chat in, I'd like to know if you feel like revealing the warts, I know I'm using that word, was good or bad. Benny the Player in the house from sunny Florida.
What's up, Benny? Hey, he's the baseball bum. Cheap plug.
Okay, so D. Gable says, John just trying to cope. I understand. Good comment. So his brother's John Draper, I believe. Okay. And like I said, he seemed angry. And D. Gable says that he was trying to cope and it was okay. You know what? Good answer, right? Can't argue that answer at all.
Sounds like that to me, too. You know, it does. That it does.
And then he also says, I think Kev was just a lone wolf.
That's fair.
So I'll say this again. I didn't know Kevin Castle. I chatted with him on social media. Mm-hmm. I would say that I can't put the lone wolf tab on him, considering what I eventually learned. And let me also share my thoughts here.
Well, what's a lone wolf to you, if I can ask you that?
I would say a lone wolf is not a shut-in. Okay, shut-in is someone
What is a lone wolf?
Lone wolf's like, hey, man, I do my own thing.
Eastwood in the Westerns?
Sure.
I mean,
or how about this?
Okay.
I'm a lone wolf. Right. I go to the beach by myself. I'm a lone wolf. I hang out with my dog. I'm a lone wolf. I walk around with my cats, but I do things, right?
With
I
your
don't stay
at the beach?
Well, I'm not a cat, dude. You know what I'm saying, but you know what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that you still live life, but I don't need Jimmy Pharaoh to live my life, right?
No.
I don't need my wife to live my life.
Yeah,
that to me is a lone wolf. And again, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. That's my belief, right? That's all.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with that for sure. No, there's got to be a separation between reality and fantasy. Come on now.
So this is a comment on Facebook. Pro wrestling is not fake. You do not know what you're talking about. Interesting.
I told you it was real, Mike. I've been telling you that for years.
So D. Gable, I guess, is a big follower of DT and Kevin Castle. That graphic was from Kev's younger days, not like the recent pictures when he was in his 50s. Understood. The great Bob Cook. Bob Cook is in the house.
Mr.
Bob Cook,
Cooker's Corner.
one of the all-time great wrestlers, WCW, did some WWE action. I've been in wrestling nearly 45 years, and I've never really won, and I've never really lost. Always intelligent comments. But you know when you lose, man? You know when you lose? When you kind of like give up living. That's when you lose, right? In my opinion. Jay Will here, baby. Love to see Jay Will. And what else do I got here? The Class Project with Mike. A recluse is like Howard Hughes. Sorry, his sunglasses. As he became older. Yeah, I agree, sir. That is a recluse. And from what I got, and I could be wrong, I'm listening to three guys that knew him, and it seemed like Kevin Castle was a recluse. I could be wrong. I'm just going off what I got from listening to him.
You've known me a long time, and you've known that I've moved 28 times since 1990. Have I ever been in a recluse phase to you?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that's a relief. Thank you. I was wondering. Now I'm wondering.
I don't think so. I don't.
There were time periods where I was alone for years with my cats.
Babe Ruth just said Kevin died. Yes, babe. If you didn't know that, Kevin passed away on, I believe, Monday afternoon. Unfortunately, for the wrestling community, true talent. I don't want to beat this horse. I just wanted to take the opportunity of our show to that show. Yeah. We're always here's the deal. We're always in competition, but talent recognizes talent, right? And we're in it to win it. They were in it to win it. We always treat each other respectfully. They know how much we love their show, and I think the love came back to us. But let's not forget, we were all in it to win it. So when we lost Kevin Castle, to us, it was like losing part of our podcast family. And we didn't even have close to the feeling that the gentlemen that are on this chat right now feel, right? They're probably longtime listeners that, like our family, we grow together, and it's like losing a family member. So, prayers to that, right, Jimmy?
Yeah, and what else is also a little bit haunting to me is we've now been doing this long enough that this is the second jolt with Marati first. And Dan Marati from Boston Wrestling that was an absolute. And Mr. President, who's in the chat room, how do we know him? How did we get to know Mr. President, Phil DeCesare?
Great point, Jimmy. Great point. And Dan Marati was a hell of a podcaster, right?
Yeah, yes, he was, and that's why this is this hurts the people who listened all the time. Of course it does. They love you. If a program works, you somehow find a way, even though we're miles away from each other and we're miles away from a lot of the people who watch us, you'll find a way to connect. Right? As people. As from friend to friend, from person to person, if you're able to be organically good enough. And Don Tony was always that with him, and that's why it worked for them. And they had good production too, by the way. Am I allowed to say that?
Better production than shit I'm doing right now.
Well, that's not what I'm getting at. You're a Come on, the indie music television days when we had our own producer doing our shit and stuff like that. That was really, come on, I mean. We're fine. I ain't worried about shit like that.
Well, I'm not counting. I'm counting the.
I got the Wahoo Saloon going on. I'm happy. You stop that.
Jimmy, I want to announce that Ron Shaw wrote us and informed us that he will be throwing out the first ceremonial pitch at 7 p.m. next Wednesday, April 16th at Hammond Stadium in Fort Myers for the Mighty Muscles, who are the minor league team from the Minnesota Twins. If you're out of town and planning a trip or a resident of the area, he would love to see you. And afterward, if you can attend, you've all been invited to sit in the air-conditioned skybox to have dinner with the sports journalists for around the area.
Nice.
So,
my God.
So Big Ron Shaw throwing out the first pitch.
That is pretty cool. I'm liking that.
But you're not in that area, are you?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think I'm in any area, to tell you the truth. Like when the major bands come, it's like a 5-hour drive. I'm like, what? You know? What do you mean the nearest Madison Square Garden or Nassau Coliseum is 5 hours from here? Where am I? Oh my God! You know, I am where the last Nitro was, though. So there is.
Which you know what? Whenever you keep saying that, I go, "What the fuck? Like, why did they have that in Panama City? You know, Florida?
Dude. Once upon a time, Panama City Beach was a smoking hot area, and it wasn't overpopulated like it is now. So when people would come, they could, you know, they came in droves too. This place was a hot spot around the 2000s and on for a while.
I recently I looked up a survey on Panama City, Florida, and did you know that the average teeth in each person's mouth in Panama City, Florida, is 10 less than the U.S. average?
What are you saying? Are you saying that we all need dentures? What are you saying?
That's kind of what I'm saying. I mean, I'm just telling you. It says Panama City, Florida, is #1 least teeth in the United States.
I mean, I remember my first job. Basically, I'm getting ready to go through the back door, and I hear behind me, "Scum, scum, scum, go back to where you're from." And I turned around and it was Coach from ESPN. And I was just like, oh, okay. I was like, I guess I'm not in New York anymore. And I looked at him and I said, you do realize you lost the war. And he's like, it ain't over yet. I was like, what where am I?
But he may be right when you think about that, man.
Yeah.
All right, so it's finally happened. Our own Benny Scala finally could shut the fuck up about Ivan Koloff being in the Hall of Fame.
Wait a minute!
If we got anything out of this fucking nightmare, it's we don't have to listen to that motherfucker.
What about Ivan Koloff? You're forgetting the all-time
That's right.
guy.
That's right. As Kamala, Dory Funk Sr., and who Scott Hall called Bory Funk, right? And the great Ivan Koloff all have made it through the Hall of Fame legacy, where Mitch Seinfeld had sent me the post where he had sent to Kamala's wife.
Right. Well, it's about damn
congratulating her, right?
I mean, come on, though, Mike. It's about damn time. I mean, what the hell? Why Ivan Koloff should have been in a long time ago, not to beat the dead horse, because we know it's been beaten to death. But let's just get to the point of origin. What the hell did you make this happen for, you know, this wait with Ivan Koloff? I could see a wait for the other two, you know. I mean, especially considering Dory's legacy wasn't even in WWE, but... And Kamala...
I have to actually think that...
Kamala should be in. Let me get that out of the way, too.
Give me reasons why.
Oh, come on. Kamala, you know what? If Kamala was a flash in the pan and he was around for one calendar year or something, I would have been like, But no. And he actually somehow Kamala was scary. I don't give a crap what anybody says. He had the freak out factor to me as a viewer. He'd make me slightly uncomfortable, kind of like as I've given props to the character of Papa Shango. I'm getting in trouble here because that's not popular to say. Papa Shango was a little unsettling. I was like, man, this is kind of macabre in a fucked up wrong way, you know. And Kamala was a great villain. He was great for a long time, and he didn't have to say a word. Think about the magic of the shit he pulled off. Did he come across as a main event threat for the guys in the day? Yes, he did. And he didn't even have to say a word. Not a word. Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. But all I remember is this. You don't
think he's a Hall of Famer? Let me pin you right now.
No, he's a Hall of Famer. But I will say this. I always remember back in the day when he was on Marathi's show and he complained about how much money Hogan got and he didn't get shit. And everybody's like, poor Kamala, he got his feet cut off because, again...
It's not because of Hogan. Jesus,
no, because of health issues, right?
Right.
And poor Kamala, they don't help him, and GoFundMe and all this shit. And all the fucking wrestling experts like, oh, Vince McMahon's a piece of shit. He won't even help this guy. What was his name? James Smith?
James Harris.
Harris, okay.
That's
right. Huggy Bear Harris, right?
Huggy Bear. Husky Harris.
And then, here we are. Monte and Pharaoh come through. We bring on the great Lanny Poffo just to answer that question. Hey, Lanny, we got one thing to ask you. Go ahead, guys. What do you think about Kamala?
Oh boy.
And
this
Lanny
is supposed to be a
Poffo
tribute show.
and Lanny Poffo. Yeah, it was a Kamala.
Another one of your tribute shows. Okay, here we
and
go.
Lanny
folks.
Poffo literally tears
Destroyed him.
fucking Kamala a new asshole. And you can get that on the channel. It's pretty fucking.
Yeah, he completely. Yeah. That was a tribute. Haven't you heard? That's the word.
Wow, we have the worst tribute shows, man.
This
added up to one of them too, right? This wasn't.
We've had some very nice ones. Now you hold on. When Andrew was on about after Kevin Sullivan's passing, that was a good show. You stopped.
No, that was a great show.
Come on, man.
And our show to Marathi was good.
Well, that was yeah, exactly. So there.
But on the other hand, we had the Rocky Johnson tribute show, which was a nightmare.
That was Tony. Thank God he didn't
The Kamala tribute show was a nightmare.
Oh my God! When Tony goes into religion and politics, silverware gets thrown. Go on.
Well, the Kamala tribute show was not very endearing. What did he say? If Kamala would have made $1 billion, he would have spent it.
Right. You know that I heard that they paid Kamala a king's ransom.
Yeah. Speaking of that. All right, dude, got to get your way in on this one. So obviously the internet community and the wrestling world is all on fire because, week after week, Charlotte Flair and Tiffany go at it, and Charlotte Flair is embarrassing the hell out of her. But last Friday in Chicago, I think it was Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Tiffany Stratton gets the leg up, according to wrestling fans, as Charlotte Flair gets shaken off her boots, and Tiffany Stratton supposedly goes off script and actually starts bringing up Charlotte Flair's lack of success in the marriage area and being alone.
Yeah, right.
First, I have to ask you, do you really feel Tiffany beat Charlotte, or was it Tiffany and a crowd beat Charlotte Flair?
You know what I feel? Yeah, well, I know what you're getting at when you're saying that the crowd is pushing for a certain way for this to go. That's obvious. We've seen this before. Brushing all of that aside, what I thought was important about this past one is that I do think that legitimately they don't like each other. They really don't. Charlotte was the one who went off script first. There was some talking to in the back afterwards.
What did Charlotte go off script with? What she said?
Charlotte started to go off script before her. I can't quote. I'm not going to start quoting the exchange, but from what I understand and from what I've read from more knowledgeable, whatever way you want to throw it, you know what I mean? We don't know at the end of the day, but from what I was gathering, it sounded like Charlotte went off script, and then Tiffany went off script, but it wasn't too bad yet, and then Charlotte went off script again. And I think it was something where she called Charlotte a certain thing. And Charlotte was like, no, I'm the queen.
Oh, a Neo. I don't even know what the hell that was. A Neo baby.
That was going off script. So she went off script first. And then they started to get more personal with the exchange. Okay. And then basically it was Charlotte was getting heat because she's a veteran and she initiated it. And I think that honestly, the fact that we're all interested in this now, because let's face it, before this past week, before this exchange, no one was really interested in any of this. Am I being unfair? I don't think I'm being unfair. I could care less. Now I'm starting to care. So whatever happened, whatever degree of was real, whatever wasn't, do it again. How's that?
Do you think that they moved themselves into a possible main event slot?
No.
Now I know obviously the three-way's been announced, but Cena and Cody Rhodes have not been announced as the main event. Right?
It's going to be one of those two nights. Stop it.
So there's no way anybody has a chance to maneuver themselves into that spot.
No, I don't believe so. And I don't think that, honestly, and it's not about the men or the women, I don't think that Tiffany and Charlotte deserve to bump Punk, Rollins, and Reigns. All
right, is it fair to say that maybe Tiffany and Charlotte would have been one of the first two matches, and now they're going to move down the card at least?
Just put them in the right slot. Let's not make this rocket science. Whatever night that they put them on, know where to put them. Don't put them after a 5-star match. Okay? Know where to insert them. And I don't know what the whole layout's going to be. But to me, it would be where they're placed in the card. It could be an opener. They start hot nowadays, right, Mike? Yeah. They do. They start hot. I could see that opening up one of the two nights, and I don't think Charlotte would give two shits about that. What, Charlotte's going to try to push for the main event? That's not happening with the current matchups. Nope. You're not bumping John and Cody, and you're not bumping the three-way.
I don't know. I don't know if I should play this. It's the "Don't try this if you don't know what the fuck you're doing" clip. But it's quick. But it could get nailed. It's an NXT clip. Do you think I should show it?
No.
Don't take a chance, right?
Yeah. Why would you? What is this, bowling for fucking dollars?
But it could be funny. That's all I'm saying.
I tell you what, do it if you pull a pen pal. How's that sound? You got to pull a pen pal.
But dude, it's like, all right, do I try it?
No, you don't try it. We already discussed this. What are you doing?
All right, I won't. I don't have the ball.
And then call me 3 times next week about how we got in trouble.
Who's the chick? Who's the chick that big muscular chick that came from TNA?
The big muscular chick that came from TNA?
Yeah. The one that recently signed. Jordan Grace.
Oh, you mean recently? I was thinking.
So last night, Jordan Grace, I was going to show the clip, but she tries the dive through the ropes.
What? Why?
And she totally just gets her foot caught on a rope and falls flat on the floor.
Look at her. She's like
I agree, dude.
Why would you have her flying through the ropes? She's built like a female Ken Patera. What the fuck is she diving through the ropes for?
You're right.
Well, I'm serious.
All right, I got to ask you a serious question.
Oh, God, please. By all means.
Is she a woman or a man?
What? You said a serious question. She's a woman. Why?
She doesn't look like one. That's why.
Do I have to call Charlie Kirk and explain the definition of gender? What are you talking about?
All right, dude, come on.
You're scaring me.
I think you're being soft on me right now.
I am?
Yeah, because hold on. I'm going to pull this fucking thing up now.
Why are you doing that?
Because I have a question. I do not think. Maybe Bob Cook wants to jump in. Bob Cook's into
Bob, help me out here. What's going on?
Defending, but hold on.
What do you mean are you inferring she's a man? What do you
I don't know.
Okay. When you show me a picture like that, what am I supposed to say? She's got to like the juice. Am I wrong about that?
Oh, she's all on the juice.
Okay. So this is what happens when a chick takes juice.
All right, let me ask you this. Do you find her attractive?
No.
Even if you're not married, do you find her attractive? You're out at the bar, you're smoking a cigarette, drinking a beer, and this comes up
Bob,
to you.
Help me out here.
What is he, bifocals? Hello, Pharaoh. How are you?
Am I wearing bifocals at the time? Am I wearing bifocals?
Look, let's fuck, Pharaoh.
You really need help. That's really, really off kilter.
It's wrong.
I can't.
What I'm doing is wrong.
No. Put it back up. Put it back up. Put it back up. You're hot, Monte. Take me.
Oh, gross. Okay,
what are you doing? You want to keep playing this fucking game? Put it back up.
Oh, terrible.
Mike, you're hotter than Joe What-A-Day Lowry. I want you.
Oh my God.
Come here, buddy. Come here. Let me give you a noogie.
Pharaoh.
Stop!
Ride me, Pharaoh.
Take the picture down.
Now.
Take the picture down. Down.
Hold on.
Thank you.
I want you, Pharaoh.
Wait, hold on. Wait. No, put it back up. Hi, Bob Cook. You're mint. You're mint, Bob Cook. I love you. Not me. The picture. Anyway, forget it.
Anyway, you know what? Yeah. There's always someone for somebody, right?
That was just wrong.
Dark Side of the Ring, episode number 4 is this Tuesday.
Okay.
Too Fast, Too Soon, the Tony Atlas episode where Monte and the Pharaoh will be featured.
We are?
Yes, we will. Will you be watching? Have you been watching Dark Side of the Ring?
Yeah, when I can get to it, yeah. Of course I've seen some of these episodes. What do you think? I'm clueless? I'm penniless, but I'm not clueless.
Well, so we are on that episode, and we're also on the Billy Jack Haynes episode. So we have a good relationship with Dark Side of the Ring. And by the way, I want to take the time out to thank our 3 guests last week, the great Missy Beefcake, along with Hall of Famer, her husband, Brutus Beefcake, and Tegan Bourne, the daughter of Matt Bourne. We had 2 back-to-back shows. Let me tell you something. The Brutus Beefcake, Missy Beefcake interview is getting a lot of heat, bro. A lot of heat. A lot of people all over that interview, man.
They're going to have to get over it and enjoy it. At least.
And, we talk about all this podcast and we're all in competition together. What does Hannibal do? Fuck those guys. Now I'm going to run a 3-hour Brutus the Beefcake interview and hope everybody watches.
Are you serious?
I'm not kidding.
Wow.
Another clown show. Here's the thing that's really going to kill Hannibal. When the Billy Jack Haynes Dark Side of the Ring episode comes on and we're on it,
Yeah.
I guarantee he's going to go on there and goes, Billy Jack Haynes was my best friend, and they didn't even show my videos on him. And little do you know, Hannibal, I talked and Jimmy talked to Billy Jack Haynes. He really didn't like you, dude.
Yeah, I do remember that.
He's not a fan. He's not a fan.
You know what's funny, Mike? Compare us now to eight years ago. Like the first time I remember watching that so-called fight with him and Lanny Hannibal.
Yeah. Oh, that was awful, dude.
When you look at it,
Jimmy, one second. I don't mean to interrupt. I got an emergency to show you.
Emergency?
Do me, Pharaoh. No.
That fight with you and Lanny made me wet.
Oh.
How you feel now, Mike?
But by the way, that Lanny fight and Hannibal is so fucking bad. It's so bad.
No, it really is really, really bad.
Here's a message to Hannibal.
Yeah.
You didn't make the WWE not because you had hepatitis, dude. It's because you suck. You suck speaking, and you're a sucky wrestler. If that's the example of what you would give a WWE audience, that anyone could go to the video, go look up Lanny Poffo fights Hannibal. It's the worst shit ever. It's like, what the fuck are we looking at right now?
It's pretty bad. I challenge you to a duel. I'm like, oh boy, this is not good.
And the slap is just so.
Yeah. Am I also allowed to say I really don't appreciate what he did to his fellow wrestlers with his behavior down in Texas either? How's that sound?
Well, I was going to say, at least give him credit to doing something that was at least believable.
Yeah, but then he ruined it all and wrecked the opportunities for the other folks that were trying hard to make it.
Because that's Hannibal's thing. Hey, man.
That's not good.
Hey, man. From that. The WWE didn't sign me, so you know what? I'm going to blame Abdullah the Butcher for my hepatitis. It's his fault.
Deep down, when you're known for blaming, do you really want to be known at all? I know I wouldn't.
Listen, I've always said that Hannibal had the advantage of being the OG for YouTube. So when when he came on, people all gravitated to him. But I got to tell you what, with all the people that have come out over the years, whether it be a Don Tony or the kid from England or Monte and the Pharaoh, your interview skills are lacking. And I got to tell you, the guys he has on that channel, and I'm not going to be respectful here, but the fucking EVP of that guy's the worst interviewer of all time. And then you got the John Paz guy, like I said, it's like Kermit the Frog.
Well, when you're actually disappointed, which is like probably an overstatement, but when you go to watch a video and you think it might be like what you're used to seeing, Hannibal, and you see the other ones, I mean, talk about instantly. I'm like, oh no, not at all. You know, so it goes to show that even Hannibal, as bad as he is, I'm like that. His staff is much worse. I agree.
Thank you. Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
Hannibal's
it's like whoa, where's Hannibal? And if I'm going, whoa, where's Hannibal to begin with? I'm already in the shit zone. So you know what I mean? Whoa, where's the shit burger I'm used to digesting?
Worst and best WrestleManias. That's the main focus of this show, buddy. But before we go on this subject, who and what wrestler has the most WrestleMania events in WrestleMania history?
The most actual appearances?
In main events in WrestleMania.
Oh, in main events?
Main events.
Wow. Well,
I hate to put you on the spot. I just want to see if you can figure it out.
Hogan has to be up at the top, but Roman Reigns now has had so many, hasn't he?
I'm asking you for an answer. I'm not helping.
I can't give you a definitive answer. I haven't looked into it enough.
Well, here's your answer.
Yeah, it's Roman.
Roman Reigns.
Roman's got 10?
11 with this one coming up.
Okay,
with this one
11.
coming up.
Well, I knew he had 10. I was thinking 10 because.
Now, let's be fair, though. Roman's had the advantage of 2-night WrestleManias for how many years?
How many did Hogan have? Hogan's not far behind.
Hogan, I think, is at 8. Honestly,
right.
Jimmy, if I remember.
Behind. Right.
Well, 11 and 8 is quite a distance. But again, to be fair, Roman Reigns has the advantage of 2 WrestleManias.
It's a different machine nowadays. It runs differently. Roman Reigns has definitely done it longer now. Hogan's run was what, 85 to 93, to be fair? And Reigns is now at 11 years and counting. So, you know, that's a lot. That's a long time. Not surprised by that. Is anybody near Hogan and Reigns, though, at the end of the day?
All right, you ready? Here we go, buddy. You hit it right on the head. Right now, if everything stands, Roman's at 10, but we know he's going to have 11 shortly. Hulk Hogan, we were right, has 8. Who do you think is number 3?
For a main event.
Main event only.
John Cena.
John Cena is number 5 with 6.
Wow. Okay, so there's a clutter there. All right. So who are the other two log jammed in between?
Triple H is number 3 with 7.
Okay.
The Rock is number 4 with 6. So it's Roman Reigns at 11, but right now at 10. John Cena at number 5 with 6, but he'll be at 7 if him and Cody are main eventing.
Yeah, I got
Hogan
that.
finishes up with 8. You know he's never wrestling again. Triple H finishes up with 7. You know he's never wrestling again.
Correct.
And The Rock is number 6, and that's including last year's tag team main event. Right? And he may possibly get another one. So with that all being said, would it be fair to you to say that Roman Reigns is now on the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestlers in WWE history?
Wow. Does Roman Reigns, okay, I'll ask you it this way. Does Roman Reigns deserve to bounce the following people? Hulk Hogan.
No.
Does Roman Reigns deserve to bounce Stone Cold Steve Austin? Historically.
No.
Be careful.
No.
Thank you. Does Roman Reigns bounce The Rock?
No.
Okay, so there's 3 names. Now here comes the big question. Does Roman Reigns bump either one of these 2 names, which I could see people saying are next? The Undertaker or John Cena? Does Roman Reigns get to bump either one of them?
I would say Roman Reigns bumps Taker, but that's my personal thing. I can't see him bumping John Cena. So really great
So
list.
to me, at the end of the day, it's those generations. This is today's generation. Roman is the face of today's WrestleMania. Period. He is. Cody might be the current one, but longevity-wise,
I think when it's all said and done, Jimmy, though, and it's all,
he's one of the all-time greats. He's in the top stratosphere. But
when it's in the books, he may bounce somebody. You know what I mean? When it's all in the books, he may bounce somebody.
John is going to, at some point, Mike, at least I think you agree with me on this before he's retired, is going to become a 17-time world champion. No, I can't see him being bumped. I personally, historically now, would not bump John Cena, alongside Stone Cold, The Rock, and Hogan. I just wouldn't.
I will make this statement, though. We all know that Roman Reigns beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania, but that was a couple of years after Brock Lesnar did it. I think Vince had Roman in mind the whole time and pulled the trigger too early with Lesnar. Do you think if he would have been the only one, it did, but
ultimately, it still worked at the end of the day. Vince was not wrong ultimately, because look at what Roman Reigns turned to, and it was still under his watch. So no. You know what I mean? And a lot of people disagreed with a lot of his bookings over the years, and I understand all of that. But Roman Reigns, there was a reason for that resume to be built that way.
But let me ask you this question, though.
He did take too long. I think he took too long to pull the trigger on a Roman that we've been enjoying for the last years.
I'll ask you this question, though. If he doesn't pull the trigger with Lesnar and lets Roman beat The Undertaker when he does, now does Roman Reigns knock off Hogan, Rock, Stone Cold, John Cena,
Are you saying to me, what if Roman Reigns was the one to defeat Undertaker streak?
1 and 21-1. Yes.
It wouldn't have worked, and thank God it turned out the way it did. And I still am. I know I'm in the minority, but like when Brock beat Taker, it was the right guy. Stop it. If anybody's going to end the streak, if anyone's going to pull Cal Ripken from the fucking baseball game, it's going to be Brock Lesnar.
All right, here we go.
It made sense.
Here we go. The greatest WrestleManias of all time. We put a list together, and then we'll discuss it, right? So we have WrestleMania 17.
Yeah. Great.
Do you believe this is a good place as number 5? Best moments, HBK versus Jericho, Austin, and The Rock. That's when he became the first unified champion. Angle versus Lesnar in a shooting star. A shooting star match. What do you think?
WrestleMania X7, huh?
Number 5.
Oh, at number 5.
Number 5.
You ding dong. You started at number 5.
Number 5 greatest. Yes.
What the hell? I got a different list, man.
Do you really?
Something's wrong here. WrestleMania X7 is supposed to be the first one, correct? If we're starting at number 5, we're talking about WrestleMania 21 from 2005.
Oh shit! Wait a minute. I'm sorry.
You're freaking me out, man.
You're right. That is.
What are you doing?
Sorry, X7 is number 1. I apologize.
Okay,
yes,
folks, we're gonna start at number 5 with WrestleMania 21 from 2005. Where's the picture? Or are we just gonna stay on this picture?
We're gonna stay on this. We're gonna go with
Okay.
number 1. This is number 1 WrestleMania of all time.
Oh, you want to start with number 1?
Might as well, because that's where I put the list in. And I don't want to sit there and fucking bounce around.
Okay, I got you. All right, do I think it's the greatest of all time? No, my favorite is WrestleMania 3. That's still my favorite. I still think it's the most important. It might be on this list. I probably shouldn't jump the gun with that. But as far as WrestleMania 17, wasn't this the one, if I'm not mistaken, where Linda rose from the wheelchair and gave Vince the kick in the nuts? That was the Vince Shane stuff. First of all, that was, right. And by the way, that's one of the loudest pops in history. Do you realize that Linda McMahon, by not saying a word for an elongated period of time, as Vince swapped tongues with Trish, right? Wasn't it Trish? You know, when she got out of that wheelchair, what a pop, man! You don't hear that too often,
dude. You can't go down.
This was also Angle Benoit, by the way, was on this card. And
no, wait a minute, hold on. Did I read the wrong information?
Yeah, WrestleMania.
Oh, you are
17.
right. You are right. I was reading number 2.
Yeah, you had the Linda McMahon thing where she kicks Vince right in the crotch, which was an electric moment. So you had the Vince versus Shane shit going on, which was great because Vince was great in those days, and Shane was pretty great too. You had Angle and Benoit, which was just a clinic, and you have. Most importantly, you did have an early foreshadowing of Undertaker and Triple H, which became they had a few classics, of course.
Which, by the way, you got to give that a lot of credit because that was coming off. That was coming off of the Undertaker Shawn Michaels dual series, and Triple H delivered in that, and the Undertaker delivered in their match.
Well, understand too that there are those two guys at that time period are clearly the workhorses and captains of the locker room too. So they had that riding too, and they both, they were leaders. They were workhorses. They put up a good match, and later on, their chemistry became so great that they had some great matches, Taker and Triple H. But most importantly, of course, you do have the Austin heel turn, which I personally kind of liked.
By the way, Almighty One's checking in, and he said the greatest WrestleMania match is Conan WrestleMania Virginity on the Line match.
Conan Virginity. I'm putting it on a poll. Let's call Vince Russo, bro. Let's do that. I like the idea, though.
Almighty One likes 6 and 19 as his number ones.
Yeah, I was reading about 6 getting like some slack, and I was like, now wait a minute. Maybe we should.
You can't give 6 slack, dude.
Yeah, I was like, maybe we shouldn't get into this debate right now. But even if the whole card is not like, oh my God, matches that are eternal, like a Hogan Warrior thing. I remember watching that, and it was great.
I honestly think if you could have a shitty card, and if you have 2 really good matches, it makes a WrestleMania. Right?
Yeah, it could make up. Yeah,
like I agree with you. For me, WrestleMania 3's got to be the number 1. Andre Hogan. Oh well, you know what? What WrestleMania was the Rock Hogan? What WrestleMania was that?
18.
It's hard to argue 18, dude. It's like, how
18.
do you argue maybe the greatest? Okay.
Well, it's got one of the greatest moments. Whether it's the greatest card of all
time, before we go further than anything, to you, what's the greatest WrestleMania match? Not the greatest match like they were great matches, just the greatest match that like had you off your hook.
Well, it's always going to start with the beginning, and it depends where you jump on board this awesome ship known as pro wrestling. It's Andre Hogan for me. The immensity and importance of the moment. That was when the WWE became the Roman Coliseum. They became what they are today. They were over the top. They were Super Bowl level. You got 93,000. It was 80. Listen. Place was a sea of madness. We had never seen that in that sort of presentation. Andre the Giant was a behemoth. To the general public, he had never ever been defeated, and we had never seen him pinned. True or false, Mike? We had never seen Andre the Giant pinned, and here's this immense, colossal object standing in Captain America's way. And it doesn't matter what Hogan is today; it's what he was then. I was Captain America.
And listen, Hogan Warrior at the time.
And Hogan Warrior too. That was
unbelievable.
You're talking
unbelievable.
Theater. And that gets down to the purist and the argument between the wrestling and the E and entertainment that Vince has always given us. And I love both. There is nothing wrong with
And by the way, let's give a little love to WrestleMania 1, too. That tag team match was fucking great. It was great.
Yeah, it was on an entertainment level. I was glued, but it was.
Obviously things evolve and wrestlers evolve and they get better, just like football players have gotten better and baseball players have gotten better.
Yeah.
There's, again, when you're the beginning of everything,
right?
Let's look, just like podcasting. Hannibal was the shit when it opened, and then people came along that are better, and now he's a piece of shit.
Right. When you're the beginning of everything, before we exit WrestleMania 17, when you're the beginning of everything, what also happened, and the most important thing that happened on the card that night, really, was the tables, ladders, and chairs. That was just thick. Come on. That is one of the greatest matches ever. I stand by that.
It's one of the greatest matches ever because it was the first of its kind where people put themselves on a line like that.
Yep.
But if you would have that same match now in 2025, it's not so special.
Yeah, well, you know what? It was special, and it was special because it was.
But you understand what I'm saying,
the right?
Place
and the right players, and they were all great. And man, I was a huge Dudley Boy fan. Come on now. That was incredible.
Not putting down a match. All I'm saying is things have become less special, right?
Right. Everything's a flop.
You're a little
now.
numb.
Yeah.
All right. Number
That's not their fault, though.
2.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 19.
WrestleMania 19. So what do we got here? Oh, I loved HBK versus Jericho. Oh my God. I remember really appreciating that matchup. You've got Chris Jericho in his prime, basically, the wrestler and the entertainer, and he's got the belts now under his resume and stuff. HBK versus Jericho was fantastic because it really was prodigy versus teacher in many ways. It was a really beautiful match. I'll tell anybody to go back and watch it. It's art. Not to be a nerd, Mike. Sorry about that. You got Austin Rock too, Angle, Lesnar. Isn't this where Lesnar falls on his skull?
Yeah, that's the one where he falls. Yeah.
This WrestleMania was fantastic. Yeah, I agree that it's up there. I'm still thinking 3, but that's my problem.
I am too.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 30, the Yes Movement.
I remember being annoyed, but that's really not how I should probably.
You know what? Honestly, I that WrestleMania. What was on that card, Jimmy?
This feels like The View made sure we put this at number 3.
Yeah, standouts: Daniel Bryan, Cinderella story, Taker streak ends, the Shield's dominance.
Taker's streak ending was fucking great, and you know what? There are historical moments on this WrestleMania. So if these things you think weigh in that heavily, I could see the argument, but no. I don't. I remember being very pleased with Brock ending Taker's streak. I know I'm in the minority. I was fucking.
But you hit on the head. Historically, you had 2 major moments, right?
Yeah.
One, Lesnar beats Undertaker. And the 2, the fans win their battle with Vince McMahon. They force him to do what they wanted. So historically, it's a big deal. WrestleMania 20.
All right.
Number 4. That's when Guerrero and Benoit, finally come home. Again, I hate even having Benoit on anything, dude, to be honest with you.
Yeah. This was, and then there was a big swing.
Now, let me ask you this question, Jimmy.
Yeah.
When you had HBK, Triple H, and Benoit in that match, were you expecting Benoit to win, or were you shocked?
No, I was expecting Benoit to win.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it felt like it that night. It felt like it that night with Eddie, obviously, for them to both, do great things. Thank God that it did happen on a wrestling level. What Chris Benoit became in the end, obviously, we've already made clear how we feel about him and the whole turn of events. it was sad in a way. I don't watch it anymore. I can't for too many reasons. All right, and it's not just about Chris. It's also about Eddie because I'm one of those weirdos that really loved Eddie. I thought Eddie was so great, and when I watch Eddie, I feel sad. When I watch Chris, I feel mad. Have I broken that down for you good enough?
Yeah, you did.
You know, so it's hard for me to watch WrestleMania 20. It's really kind of sad. You know,
sad and mad. It's a sad and mad WrestleMania. That's all.
Yeah, it was
That's
a good one though. It was.
And locking it at number 5 greatest WrestleMania is WrestleMania 21 Hollywood. Is that right? Yes, it is. Is that in number 5? Really? Did we put that as number 5?
Yeah. Well, you got.
Did I fuck that up?
WrestleMania 21. No, you did not fuck it up. This is Cena and Batista becoming the men. You know, they're
and HBK Sexy Boy that match against Kurt Angle was pretty good.
Right. Yeah, but that wasn't against Kurt Angle. That was against Sexy Kurt. He'll make your ankle hurt.
One of the greatest.
On, dude.
One of the greatest.
There we go. I'm just a sexy. Didn't he have Sherry? Sherry was singing terribly like she usually does.
Yes, he did.
Oh, it was fantastic. Good.
All right,
good
the worst WrestleManias, chalking it at number 1.
Oh, by the way, Mike, real fast, the WrestleMania 21 was also the first Money in the Bank.
Oh, very good. Very good. And Edge won that, right?
Yep, there you go. Edge won that. Correct.
Look at me with a little wrestling knowledge.
Yeah.
Shocking. WrestleMania 9 chalks in as number 1 worst WrestleMania of all time with such great matches as Hogan chiming in and beating Yokozuna in 20 seconds. Brutus Beefcake coming back fresh off after his injury. Bret Hart losing his belt to Yokozuna. Yeah, dude, that was terrible. I will say that is the worst WrestleMania of all time. I'm going to agree with that.
What are you doing, Mike? If let's put you in the boardroom there, and Vince walks in and goes to you, I got a great idea, Monte. Togas. We're all gonna wear togas. What is Mike Monte saying to Vince McMahon?
That's a great idea, Vince. Keep going.
I'm not shocked, but I'm somewhat disappointed. Oh,
whatever you want, Vince. You can do whatever you want.
Vince, do you want regular flavored Doritos or Cool Ranch?
that is it. Yeah, right.
Gotcha. All right. Fair enough. Yeah, that one was
chalking it at number 2, my friend. WrestleMania. Whoops. Where is it? 11.
WrestleMania 11. What is this?
Now, I honestly don't think this WrestleMania is that bad. You had Shawn Michaels against Big Daddy Cool. They had you had Pam Anderson, and it was pretty good.
Come on,
Bigelow Lawrence Taylor? Bigelow Lawrence Taylor?
That makes it good? Or you know what I remember about this WrestleMania? One thing, and only one thing. Everything else just faded away into the poop pile. But for me, wow, Lawrence Taylor actually put some work in. That's what I remember thinking as I was wow, Lawrence Taylor
Isn't it funny that Mr. WrestleMania could have some of the worst matches and some of the best matches also? You know, people don't realize, as great as Shawn Michaels was, he was a really poor drawing champion. He did not do well for the company. I mean, that's facts, right? That's facts.
More importantly, Shawn Michaels, and he's the first one to say this nowadays, was a real problem behind the scenes, man. This guy was pilled up, drugged up, drunk, fucking pulling power.
Dude, I was just watching the Dark Side of the Ring. Big Van Vader. So nice. He was a scumbag, the Big Van Vader, dude. He made like Big Van Vader cry, man.
Yeah, well, you can see it in the match when he kicks him in the face.
Yeah, it's fucking how Vader is too scared to get up and beat the piss out of him because he doesn't want to get fucking fired. This guy kicks him in the fucking face, screaming at him.
Well, it's just somebody taking advantage of their place and position in the company.
That's what I'm saying. You know, who am I to judge? But some things are just unforgivable.
You know what? We don't have to. Let me tell you something. You are not judging when Mike Mantar tells you what Scott Hall put him through in the locker room.
Yes,
you are not judging because you are hearing it directly from the mouth of someone that you've now gotten to know,
right,
and trust, and you can feel if they're full of shit or not. You know, and when Mike told us some of the hazing horse shit that he had to deal with as Mantar behind the scenes with the Razor Ramones of the world, come on, you're not judging. You've heard what you've heard, and it feels genuine to me. I mean, Mike was a genuine guy, so obviously this shit happened.
And the funny thing, think about it. Like Sean knew the power he had, and people are like, I want my money. I don't want to fuck this guy up because I'll be out of a job. So he had enough common sense not to do it. But for Sean, like Sean really should go on a video apologizing to Jannetty, Mike Mantor, fucking Vader.
He never will.
Chris Candido.
No, he never
I mean,
will.
it's not the fact that he was fooling around with Sonny. And I'm tired of hearing people go, oh, Candido knew it. No. It's not the fact that he was fooling around with Sonny. It was the fact that he flaunted it in front of Candido's fucking face. That's the problem. You follow what I'm saying?
Well, when you get, look, the old saying is true. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And when you're given carte blanche as Shawn Michaels was a rock star out of control. It's that simple. He's Axl Rose. He's Vince Neil. He's just fucking pissing on everybody's parade because he can. He was throwing his power around.
Look, but let me ask you this question, though. Like Diesel,
Whatever.
even as Scott Hall, right? Kevin Nash.
I would have gotten fired. I would have punched.
But like, you're friends with Shawn Michaels, right? You're friends. Yeah. You're really close friends.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, Jimmy, if I thought you were doing the wrong thing, I would have enough balls to say to you, hey, even though you're the golden boy, hey, Jimmy, you're doing the wrong thing, bro.
Yeah. Everybody should have somebody tell them that if they really are doing the wrong thing.
I would think so. So when people are like, hey, man, none of my business. Hey, man, it doesn't really matter. Hey, man, I'm Kevin Nash. He was my friend. It didn't matter. Hey, that's Chris Candido's problem. Yeah, it is Chris Candido's problem. But there's a point where you tell people, don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. That's all.
Yeah, I can't speak for Kevin Nash. I haven't heard what he said about it. So
here is one of my favorite WrestleManias, but unfortunately it falls in at number 3, worst WrestleManias. I'm sorry. I know people hate this WrestleMania. On the other hand, do not. I love the boxing match between Piper and Mr. T. I was there. You had Mr. Wonderful against Magnificent Morocco at the Nassau Coliseum. You had Randy Savage defending his Intercontinental title against George the Animal Steele. Right? I think in Chicago, you had the Battle Royal that Andre won. Right?
Yeah.
I know you had Jake the Snake against, I think, George Wells. Okay, big deal. I mean, you got to have some fucking weak ass.
Well, the thing was, it was New York heavy from what I remember.
Well, the main event in Chicago. See, I saw the main event was really California, but when we were watching in New York, because I was in the Coliseum, the second group was LA, and it was the steel cage between Hogan and Bundy, which was a damn good match. Okay. I liked it. I liked it.
It's not memorable, Mike.
Dude, it's the first time they brought out the blue cage.
I didn't like the blue cage.
All right. How about this?
I mean, it was
the British Bulldogs finally winning the tag team title against the Dream Team with Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh,
come on, bro!
Yeah,
really?
And you know what? I'll tell you. You know what's funny? I was going to start going. Why the hell was I not at that WrestleMania with you? Considering we were both, still in the neighborhood, and you went to that one at the Coliseum. Why wasn't I there? And I realized why I wasn't there, because the second you said Ozzy Osbourne, I realized where I was. I was at Mark's house. You remember the house where all the kids, the derelicts in the neighborhood, would hang out and do bong hits till they couldn't, do the alphabet in order. You know?
Yeah.
So that night we were watching WrestleMania, and there's Ozzy. And the reason why we watched WrestleMania was because Ozzy was supposed to be on it. How you like that? So I guess that's why I wasn't at the Coliseum, because I was doing bong hits with my friends watching Ozzy on television.
So when I give you this card, though, Jimmy.
Yeah,
it's not so bad.
It sucked. Then why does it suck?
Because I think people just go, I'm going to hate on it. It's just, there's a lot worse cards than WrestleMania 2. I could see if WrestleMania 2 is in the middle of the group, not good or bad, but it just gets the bad.
I think the problem, and I remember when it was live and I was watching it, is that there's a disconnect in flow. Like, the crowd is important. And there's a disconnect in flow as each crowd reacted differently, and you got a different vibe. It was really too much shit in one kitchen.
It's a very good point. That's
That's really what was wrong with the concept of WrestleMania 2. And there was not a classic, oh my God moment. If it could have given us at least one, it wouldn't be on this list, Mike.
That's fair enough, Jimmy. Fair enough. All right. WrestleMania, whoops, come on. 27.
27. All right. So what do we got here? Oh, no. Cena and Miz? No.
Awful.
No, that's not going to work. That was a terrible thing to begin with. Oddly enough, didn't Miz win?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
It's just terrible.
With a concussion, by the way.
And The Rock was all over this thing, but what else was all over this thing? I mean,
this is garbage.
Yeah.
I agree. This should be number 4. And the
blah.
final worst WrestleMania.
Well, here comes the one that drives me crazy. And when you think about
this is WrestleMania 2000?
Yeah. Yeah. This one drives me crazy because when you think about the time period and how many great stars they had on the roster, the main event was like a 4-way. I'm like, what a Big Show and Foley, I think, were in that or something. I'm like, what the? It was just there. I'm like, blech. It had total blah factor. And when you think about all the talent that they had, they just didn't do anything of impact. It's just a blah WrestleMania. I'm like, you don't even remember it, do you?
Dude, there was a point where I literally stopped watching wrestling for years. Like, I just was.
Yeah, but in 2000, you stopped already? No.
Yeah,
way.
I didn't even watch this. I was so I'm trying to think. I had just started a new job, and wrestling just became so. Jimmy, in fact, I got to tell you, from I think 2000 until when we finally hooked up again, and you came to the house and we watched Edge win the title off of Cena.
Right.
It's really when I started watching again, like right a little before that. I just got burnt out on it, man. It was like because for me, and I don't know for you, but it was like the Monday Night Wars drained me of wrestling. It was just like I can't watch any more wrestling anymore.
I still watched for years after the Monday Night Wars ended. I stopped for a little bit when Cena was coming around and starting to get a push. I was never a Cena guy, and I was like, man, this doesn't now. Another shit was going on in life, and I was like, nope. I kind of tuned out. I told you before, Punk really brought me back.
Listen, just like anything else, you come in, you come out, you come in, you come out.
Yeah, but I've only really come out once, really, in all my years of watching.
To be honest with you, I think I've only come out once, but it was for a long time. I'd have to think almost from 2000 to 2006, maybe, or 2005. I just stopped. I got, I just got like so burnt out on the whole thing. And I remember whenever I put it on, it was like during that Triple H era where he was just on the TV. And he was a great character, but it was just too much Triple H, man. It was like,
there were other things happening that were kind of like, puzzling to me. Like, I never really bought into Edge as a world champion. Of course, over the years, you start to relent, you soften, but I never looked at Edge as a champion.
It's funny like that, Jimmy. I think about that all the time, too. Like, I didn't like certain guys, and they eventually win you over. Like, the Rated R Superstar was a pretty damn good gimmick.
It was, but I don't know if I've ever looked. I don't know what my ideology or my curriculum is for what I think a world champion is, but I usually just go by my gut. And does the person have enough it factor, size, or an overwhelming portion of one or the other for me to go, okay, this is a world champion? Some to me are no-brainers. It all depends on how you look at it, though. We've been watching for years. Usually you got to be big. If you're not big, you better be huge in the aura and mic thing department. For me, that's why Punk is a champion. I look at Punk and I go, yep, that's a pro wrestling champion. When I looked at Jericho, I said, there's a pro wrestling champion. When I looked at Edge, I didn't think that. I really didn't.
Yeah, but you know what? That was during the first era of Money in the Bank type of thing, right? And when people cashed in and the Weasel. Yeah. Like, I'll tell you the truth. I'm now 100% sure WrestleMania, not this Saturday, but next Saturday or Sunday. I don't know when the match is. Dominic Mysterio is winning that Intercontinental title.
Dominic Mysterio is going to win a lot of stuff before he's finished. I've felt like that for quite a while now.
Saturday and Sunday, right? Because then you have him and Finn Balor having a feud, Judgment Day having a problem.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, I totally know. I'm putting the house money down that Dominic Mysterio is winning that IC title.
It's going to be he's still very young too. It's going to be a very long journey with him. By the time he's done, if God willing, he can, stay healthy and maybe add a little more size and stuff like that and have a long, productive career, he's going to be one of the all-time legends. I'm talking way ahead now, but I feel like he's going to do that,
Wow, all-time legend. Holy cow.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, he's already, how many years in? He started young, right?
Yeah.
And now you're talking about the Intercontinental title and stuff like that. It's a very mature and slow ascension, and I kind of like it, the way he's coming up. I thought he was good to begin with. Right away, I thought he was good, and he's become very much despised. He's a good wrestler. I think he just needs to gain a little more weight. Like, to me, I just put a little more pounds on him, and he's everything that his Uncle Eddie was. Not everything. Let's not get crazy. But he could at least be talked about that way. He's very good, and he's very young. And your WrestleMania 2 is just overrated there, Mike. Boom.
I want to remind everybody, Monte and Pharaoh will be on episode 4, Too Much Too Soon, the Tony Atlas, Dark Side of the Ring, this Tuesday coming up. So we look forward to seeing that. Jimmy and I have a lot of good guests coming on. I'm trying to confirm a few. It should be really good stuff.
Really good
I want,
shoe.
again, a really good shoe. I want to, again, send my prayers out to the friends, family, and fans of Kevin Castle, who died at a very young age. We're only wishing him a great journey into heaven, and Jesus is looking over for you. Jimmy, you want to send us out? We want to thank everybody for joining us. We love you all. Jimmy.
You've been watching Monte and the Pharaoh. Until next week, later.